Bonjour à tous. Today we'll be looking at phonetic symbols. Now in the last video we talked about French alphabets. So today we'll be looking at phonetic symbols. Now what are phonetic symbols and why are they so important in French phonetics? Now phonetic symbols are symbols used to represent the exact sounds in a French word, and that is the major function. So while alphabets are used for spelling and for writing French words, phonetic symbols are used for pronunciation and transcription. So now we've seen what they are. They're symbols that represent the exact sounds of a French word. Alright, so we dealt with silent and pronounced letters in the previous class. And we talked about how some letters will appear at the end of a French word and be silent. And we also talked about some letters that could appear at the end of a French word and be pronounced. So these symbols help tell you the exact sounds that are pronounced in a French word, okay? And they are categorized into 4 categories. We have oral vowel symbols, we have nasal vowel symbols, we have semi-vowels and semi-consonants, and lastly we have consonant symbols. Together they make about 38 of them. Some people may tell you 36, others may tell you 37, and that is because over time certain phonetic symbols have evolved to fuse into each other. So what you know to be 2 sounds before now is 1. They make the same sound. So that's why it seems as though there is an inconsistency in the numbering, but it's not as a result of there being an inconsistency. It's just based on how deep your tutorials run. So for mastery, we're going to be taking the entire 38. Now a very quick one, if you haven't clicked the like on this video, make sure you do so. If you haven't dropped comments on the previous videos, make sure you do so in this one. If you have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comment section. Feel free to share this video so that others can benefit from this. All right, so let's quickly dive into this. So now we talked about phonetic transcriptions. Now phonetic transcription is simply the process of writing words using these IPA symbols. All right, your IPA simply means your international phonetic alphabets. So they make up the sounds in languages, make up the sounds in your English language, in your French language. So we'll be dealing with the symbols in our French language. So when you talk about transcription, this is a process of writing out the sounds using these phonetic symbols in order to tell you the particular word that we're referring to. All right, so the basic function of transcription is that it builds confidence and pronunciation. When you know your phonetic symbols and you are fluent in the sounds, you are confident and you say it with confidence. You don't guess, you know. So that is one thing that phonetic symbols help you in. And another thing, it makes you sound like a native speaker. If I were to ask you to pronounce this word B-E-N-G-E-U-R, B-O-N-G-E-U-R, you're probably going to say bonjour, but that's a false pronunciation. The right pronunciation is bonjour. Why do I know this? Because I study my phonetic symbols, and you are about to. So now let's go to the first category of our phonetic symbols, which are the oral vowel symbols. So we have about 12 of these. The first one is your A. It looks like your letter A with a tail coming outward. It looks like your letter A with a tail coming outward. And you pronounce it as A. Now you find this on your letter A, that is your letter A, when it's bare, when it's not carrying any accent. As in the words pat, ami, sha. Now this is a quick sound, okay? It's a quick sound. All right, now let's take a look at the next one. Now this next one is like your small letter A, your small letter A, but without the tail. That's the difference. So unlike the first one that is a quick sound, this one is a softer and a stressed sound. So while we would say the previous as A, we say this as ah, ah. Now this particular sound, you find it on the letter A when it's carrying the accent circumflex, as in the words age, am, age, am. Okay, now the third phonetic symbol, it looks like your small letter E, and this sound is pronounced as A, as in the word say in English. So you say A. All right, So you find this particular sound on the letter E when it carries the accent aigu. So you find the sound A on the letter E when it carries the accent aigu, as in the word parler, aider, okay, manger, manger, all right. So we have this particular sound A on the letter E when it's carrying the accent aigu. All right, now your fourth phonetic symbol, your fourth oral vowel phonetic symbol, is like your number 3 in reverse. You know, 3 is written like this. Now imagine if it's on the other side. So this particular phonetic symbol is pronounced as e, 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 okay? And you find it when your vowel E is carrying the accent grave, which is a slash cutting upward to your left, or when it's carrying the accent circumflex, okay? So you have this particular E sound when you have your vowel E with an accent grave, or when it's carrying an accent circumflex, as in the words mère, fête, père, tête, okay? So we have the next vowel symbol. Now this is like your C drawn backwards with a little line drawn till the end, in the middle, drawn in the middle. So this particular sound is E, E, E. And you find it on your letter E when it is bare, meaning when it's not carrying any accent. As in the word le, te, me, se, levage. Okay? So you mostly find this E sound on your letter E. Okay? You pronounce your letter E when you have 2-letter words, otherwise you just be pronouncing a consonant. And we know that consonants should not, or rather cannot, stand on their own. Okay? So the next vowel symbol is like your letter E with a little arrow across the middle. And this is pronounced a little bit rounder than your E, because we said that E is a lazy sound. So this particular one is pronounced a little bit rounder, which means it has more form. There is more deliberate intention when you're making the sound. So you make your lips a little bit rounder and you say E. Compared to the previous one, which is a lazy sound, you could just say E, E. Now, when you want to pronounce this sound, the one that has that little O with the arrow across it, you say E, E. You see the way my lips are shaped. So that is the difference. And you find this sound when you have the vowel U, which is your U, coming together with your vowel E in French. So when you have E, U, you are going to make the sound E. Okay, as in the word feu, je, heureuse. Feu, je, heureuse. Okay, now let's go to the next one. So this one is like the fusion of your E and your O and your E. Okay, so when it's fused together, they're back to back. So you have O and E. So this makes the sound. Sound. And you have it when your letter R is together with your E, U. So you have it when you have the letter combination E, U, R. Okay, so when you have E, U, R, which is E-U-R, you get the sound as in the word per, que, sir. Okay, now let's go to the next sound. Now this looks like your small letter I, and it makes the sound E, E, E. Now you find it on your vowel I, okay, as in the words ami, vie, lire. Ami, vie, lire. Okay, the next one looks like a small letter O, okay, and it's pronounced as O. You see, this is a full sound. O, O, O. Now you find it on the letter O when it is in an open syllable. We talked about open syllables, and we said that open syllables are syllables that end with an open sound. Okay, syllables focus on sounds as far as French is concerned. So when you're talking about open syllables, you're talking about syllables that end with a vowel sound. Okay, so when you have your letter O in an open syllable, you pronounce it as O. Okay, as in the words mo, M-O-T, do, D-O-S, gros, G-R-E-S. So you can see these words have consonant letters at the end, but we're not pronouncing them. Okay, we're not pronouncing them, and the reason we're not pronouncing them is because, like we talked about, when you have consonant letters at the end of a word, they are silent. Okay, so in this regard, the nearest letter, that is your O, is carrying the sound, and that's what makes it an open syllable. So when you have your letter O in an open syllable, be sure to pronounce it as O, as we said in mo, do, ro. All right, now let's look at the next one. Now this is drawn like a back C, a C drawn backwards, and it makes the sound O, O, O. Okay, so you have this when your letter O is in a closed syllable. So we talked about closed syllables. We said that your closed syllable is a syllable that ends with a consonant sound. Ensure you're taking notes. So we said that your closed syllables are syllables that ends with a consonant sound. So when you have the letter O in a closed syllable, be sure to pronounce it as O, as in the words sol, porte, bonne. You can hear the consonant sounds being pronounced. Okay, so take note the two cases where you pronounce your letter O as O and O, one in an open syllable and the other in a closed syllable. So we have the next phonetic symbol here, and it's drawn like your small letter U, and it makes the sound oo, 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 as in the word book, cook, took, look. Okay, so we have your oo, oo, and you have it when you have the vowel U coming together with the vowel O. So when you have O, U, you're going to actually pronounce it as oo, oo. All right, so as in the words lou, vous, sou, cou. Okay, now if you want to actually gain access to the entire book that we used in the course, you can actually purchase it on seller. If you're interested, you can always make inquiries and I'll tell you how to go about it. Now the course is packed with examples, with exercises, with everything written in the most explanatory manner as possible, and it's not expensive. And we're also giving a discount to those who ensure that they leave a comment on this video and leave a like before they exit. All right, so naturally the cost is 7,000 because it contains every single thing you need to know about French phonetics, from alphabets to phonetic symbols to your accents to liaisons to eliaison. All right, so naturally the cost is 7,000, but we're giving a discount of 5,000. All right, so if you're interested in getting the course, you can drop an inquiry and we'll get back to you. All right, so now let's continue. So the final oral vowel symbol is drawn like a small letter Y, okay, and it makes the U sound. U sound. Now if you're having difficulty pronouncing this sound, just say E-U, E-U, E-U. Now blend it faster. U, U, U. Okay? And you see it's not difficult at all. So now we have this particular sound on the letter U in French, as in the words lu, L, U, tu, T, U, su, S, U, U, P, U. Okay? So now that's basically everything for your oral vowel phonetic symbols, what they sound like and what letters carry them. So now let's go into our nasal vowels.